What if I told you that a single strike by Russia has completely shifted the balance of power in the ongoing conflict? How did a strategic bridge in Mykolaiv become the epicenter of a military upheaval that has left NATO analysts scrambling? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new phase in this war, one that no one saw coming, not even the seasoned strategists? In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel, HOTPOINT, give it a like and leave a comment of at least 7 words, and if you feel like it, share this video with others. It will really help my channel. Thank you, and let's keep going. Last night, a devastating blow was dealt by Russian forces, marking a historic moment that military experts across the globe had dreaded. The strategic bridge in Mykolaiv has been destroyed, but this act of destruction goes far beyond mere infrastructure damage. It sends a clear and resounding challenge to the entire Western alliance. Why now? Why target this specific location? The answers to these questions are shocking, even for the most experienced military minds. This bridge was a crucial lifeline, facilitating 70% of all deliveries of heavy weaponry into the southern region of Ukraine. With this vital channel severed, the implications are dire, but the overarching threat is even more significant. The high-precision Caliber missiles and hypersonic Kinzhal weapons did not merely demolish a bridge. They effectively paralyzed the entire air defense system in the region. Command centers are now trapped in an information vacuum, and ammunition depots are cut off from resupply. However, the most alarming developments are yet to unfold. Western allies find themselves in a state of confusion and disarray. Their plans for a counteroffensive are crumbling before their eyes. But the paramount question remains, what comes next? In a groundbreaking tactical shift, Russian military command has executed a combined strike that targets the entirety of the enemy's defensive depth. Foreign military instructors are hastily evacuating the area, and the morale of troops in the southern front is critically undermined. Silence from official sources speaks volumes. This strike is merely the beginning of a new phase in the conflict, one that NATO is scrambling to respond to. An emergency meeting of NATO has been convened, but European leaders are struggling to reach a unified decision. The red line has undeniably been crossed, yet no one seems to know the appropriate steps to take next. Meanwhile, Russian forces are gearing up for their next move. Analysts speculate that key energy infrastructure targets may be next on the list. Such an offensive would completely paralyze the supply chains and communications of the opposing side. Experts have labeled this strategy as one of total domination, leaving no room for maneuvering. We invite you to share in the comments if you have observed any signs of escalation in your region, particularly messages from border areas. The situation is evolving rapidly, and each passing hour could bring forth new, shocking revelations. The scale of this operation has surpassed all expectations. This is not just an attack, it is a demonstration of the new capabilities of the Russian military. High-precision weaponry, including the Caliber and Kinzhal, has proven its invulnerability against Western air defense systems. The adversary has been rendered helpless. No complex system was able to react to the assault. Importantly, the strikes did not solely impact military targets in Mykolaiv. They effectively disrupted the entire logistical chain from port infrastructure to railway hubs in the Kherson region. Western weapons are now stuck in warehouses, unable to reach the front lines. The reaction from Western overseers has been telling. Confusion reigns in NATO headquarters. Their vaunted defense systems have proven ineffective against Russian hypersonic weaponry. This is not just a military defeat, it is a collapse of the entire concept of Western military superiority. Sources indicate serious losses among foreign instructors with exact figures classified, yet indirect signs point to panic within the alliance's command centers. For the first time, the West is confronted with a real demonstration of Russian military prowess. We are witnessing a pivotal moment in the conflict. Russia has shown its ability to deliver massive, high-precision strikes for which there is no effective defense. This development alters the strategic landscape not only in the region, but on a global scale. Western strategists are particularly alarmed by the deployment of drone swarms, known as Geran-2. These drones have managed to breach the remaining gaps in air defenses, finishing off any surviving targets. This represents a new level of military art that NATO was unprepared for. But the critical question remains, what lies ahead? Our sources report urgent discussions taking place at the Pentagon and NATO headquarters. The atmosphere is tense, and there is information about a potential retaliatory move that could escalate the conflict to an entirely new level. Last night proved just how dramatically the situation has shifted in the conflict zone. Intercepted radio communications confirm a sharp decline in morale among the troops of the neighboring state. Commanders on the ground are requesting permission to withdraw their units, which speaks volumes about the critical state of affairs. Particularly striking is the information regarding the targeting of facilities housing foreign instructors and mercenaries. According to reliable sources, high-ranking officers of Western origin are among the casualties. This was not merely an attack on infrastructure, it was a strike against the very centers of decision-making. The response from the command of the former Soviet Republic has been notably slow and contradictory. The suddenness and precision of Russian operations have evidently caught them off guard. Attempts are ongoing to assess the extent of the damage, but it is already clear that irreparable harm has been inflicted. The Kremlin has issued a clear statement. The special military operation is progressing according to plan, and all threats to the security of Russia will be neutralized. President Putin emphasized in a Security Council meeting that strikes against decision-making centers have been realized, subtly alluding to Western involvement in the conflict. The Russian Ministry of Defense has confirmed that all intended objectives have been achieved. The destruction of key logistical frameworks will significantly restrict the capabilities of the adversary. The accuracy of the weapons used left no chance for effective defense. In contrast, Kiev and Western capitals reacted differently. Initially, there was silence, followed by confusing explanations. Official figures from politically turbulent areas attempted to downplay the strategic significance of the attacks, but their bewilderment was evident. Analysts point out that these events could represent a turning point in the conflict. The future trajectory of events will depend on the opponent's ability to swiftly restore the damaged infrastructure and command posts, which appears unlikely given the current circumstances. Friends, we're curious to know from where you're following these developments. Please leave a comment with your country name, and let's see how broad our audience is. The nighttime strike on critical infrastructure in Mykolaiv has elicited significant resonance among military experts. Analysts close to Russian structures view this as a transition to a new phase of operations, shifting from targeted strikes to systematic destruction of supply chains associated with Western arms deliveries. It's noteworthy that this operation required extensive intelligence preparation and planning, indicating its place in a long-term strategy. Moscow has unequivocally demonstrated its readiness for decisive action in the face of escalating external threats. The Western expert community finds itself in disarray. Some analysts attempt to portray the strike as a sign of weakness, while others acknowledge the seriousness of the situation. Particularly revealing was the statement from a former American general who referred to the events as a cold shower for NATO, which did not anticipate such precision under adversarial conditions. Western reactions have been mixed. After the initial silence and routine statements of deep concern, NATO convened an emergency meeting. The alliance's Secretary General announced the crossing of a red line, yet no specific measures were outlined, leading to a rift between Eastern European and Western members of the organization. The United States limited its response to condemnation and promises of new sanctions. Notably, even among allies, there's no consensus on the situation. Some demand immediate military support for the former Soviet Republic, while others advocate for a diplomatic resolution. Experts note that Russia has demonstrated its ability to change the rules of the game, forcing opponents to reevaluate their strategies. This is particularly crucial in the context of future developments in the conflict, where targeted strikes against critical infrastructure could become the new norm. Friends, we are eager to hear your thoughts on what has transpired. Share your opinions in the comments. Recent statements from Western leaders reveal a deep divide in how the unfolding events are perceived. The White House, through its president, has promised not to remain silent and to continue supporting the former Soviet Republic. However, behind the grand rhetoric, there have been no concrete military commitments, only discussions of economic pressure. Germany, true to its cautious nature. What will it take for Olaf Scholz to shed his perceived weakness and take decisive action? Can Emmanuel Macron truly maintain solidarity without risking direct military involvement? And is Rishi Sunak's call for increased sanctions merely a political maneuver in an ever-complicated chess game? These questions loom large over the ongoing conflict, revealing a stark divide in Western perceptions of threat and security. In recent developments, Chancellor Scholz has focused on diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions, a stance that many interpret as a sign of weakness in the face of Moscow's aggressive maneuvers. On the other hand, France's Macron has publicly condemned recent events while expressing solidarity with regions in turmoil, carefully sidestepping discussions around direct military intervention. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has taken the most hardline approach, with Prime Minister Sunak advocating for intensified sanctions and an increase in arms supplies to the embattled nation at a crossroads. The critical question remains, how far is the West willing to push its own boundaries? The disparity in threat perception is glaringly evident. For Eastern European countries, the situation represents an immediate threat to their safety, while for the United States, it's a distant conflict. This divergence has led the West into a strategic quagmire. Inaction undermines credibility, yet military involvement risks direct confrontation with Russia. Sanctions, which once seemed a powerful tool, have lost their effectiveness as Moscow has shown a willingness to endure hardship in pursuit of its goals. Experts note that the concept of red lines is becoming increasingly nebulous. The alliance appears unprepared for any action beyond supplying arms and imposing sanctions, creating a precarious precedent where threats lose their significance and resolve gives way to hesitation. Interestingly, Japan and South Korea have adopted a dualistic stance. They publicly align with Western partners but are cautious to avoid direct engagement in the conflict. China, as always, has taken a wait-and-see approach, advocating for peaceful resolution, while simultaneously providing economic support to Russia. As we delve into the deeper implications of the recent nighttime strike on Mykolaiv, it has become evident that this event marks a pivotal moment in the evolution of this conflict. Russian precision strikes have not merely disrupted infrastructure, they have obliterated all prior strategic calculations made by the Western alliance. NATO now finds itself entrenched in a crisis of identity, forced to react to unfolding events instead of shaping them. The destruction of a key bridge and the targeting of transportation hubs in the region have led to an unprecedented logistical crisis for Ukraine. The military leadership of this former Soviet republic is faced with the urgent need to completely reassess its strategy. Previously, a large-scale counteroffensive was anticipated, relying heavily on Western supplies. Now, the feasibility of such operations hangs in a precarious balance. The morale of the troops is significantly undermined, as the realization sinks in that critical infrastructure could be obliterated at any moment, leading to a sharp decline in combat readiness. On the flip side, Russian forces perceive their successful operation as a clear demonstration of superiority. Western partners confront a challenging decision. Even if aid levels remain consistent, the delivery of supplies to the southern front via alternative routes will dramatically extend both time and risk. Essentially, we are witnessing a collapse of the entire logistical system in this direction. This strike serves as a wake-up call for NATO leadership, compelling them to rethink not only tactical but also strategic plans. The previous red lines have lost their significance. The alliance is now in a position where it urgently needs to explore new approaches to the conflict. Analysts suggest that this operation reflects a qualitatively new level of Russian military planning. The high precision and effectiveness of these strikes indicate substantial advancements in intelligence and targeting capabilities, calling into question all prior assessments of the Russian military's potential. As we analyze these developments, we find ourselves witnessing a fundamental shift in the nature of the conflict. Russia is transitioning from traditional frontline warfare to a strategy focused on the systematic destruction of its adversaries' infrastructure. The recent events in Mykolaiv vividly illustrate that Russia is both willing and capable of executing precision strikes on key targets deep within enemy territory. Western analysts already concede that the prior strategy of backing Ukraine is beginning to crumble. They will now need to completely reevaluate their logistics for delivering armaments, as it is one thing to send equipment and quite another to ensure its safe arrival amid ongoing threats to transport hubs. We are observing a new type of warfare, one that seeks to exhaust the opponent through a methodical dismantling of their infrastructure. This conflict has evolved beyond a mere struggle for territory. It is now a complex, multi-move game where each strike carries long-term consequences. Russia is signaling its readiness for a protracted confrontation aimed at gradually undermining its opponent's military capabilities. For NATO, this presents a serious dilemma: how to support a former ally without becoming directly embroiled in the conflict. The old playbooks are failing, and new strategies remain elusive. NATO finds itself in a situation reminiscent of Zukswang, a chess scenario where any move leads to a deterioration of position. The events in Mykolaiv serve as a clear signal that Russia is prepared to escalate and act in ways that are least expected. This is not merely a show of strength, it signifies the dawn of a new phase in the conflict, where the rules of engagement have fundamentally shifted. Military experts have pointed out that such a transformation in strategy was not only expected, but also logical given the drawn-out nature of the conflict, especially in light of the continually advancing technological capabilities of Russian military forces and the refinement of their long-range precision weapon systems. As we continue to monitor these changes in the dynamics of combat, we invite you to share your thoughts. Where are you watching this situation unfold from? Your insights could help us all gain a deeper understanding of the evolving landscape. A cold chill has swept through the spines of Western leaders. The new reality reveals that we are dealing with more than just combat operations in a country bordering the Russian Federation. Moscow has demonstrated its ability to reach any target it identifies as a decision-making center or a source of perceived threats. Military analysts emphasize that the potential for further escalation is enormous. Critical infrastructures such as ports and railway hubs in the western regions of Ukraine, lifelines for Western assistance, are now under threat. Russia, staunchly defending its right to safeguard national interests by any means necessary, has revealed its understanding of such measures. This may pose risks not only for direct shipments of arms to NATO countries, but could also mean potential strikes on production facilities that manufacture this military hardware. It may sound far-fetched, but just yesterday, the strike on Mykolaiv seemed equally improbable. This attack on a vital transport hub is not merely a tactical success. It serves as a strategic message to the entire Western alliance. The rules of engagement have changed, and previously established red lines have become blurred. The conflict is now transcending predictability, with every subsequent move potentially leading to unforeseen consequences. Western capitals, accustomed to the illusion of invulnerability, are coming to realize that their security is no longer guaranteed. If strikes have reached Mykolaiv today, tomorrow they could very well touch the heart of Europe. The only questions that remain are when and how this will unfold. In the flow of dramatic events and shifting strategies, the true scale of what is happening remains cloaked behind a veil of information. We will continue to provide you with impartial analysis of the situation. Friends, we are curious to learn about the geography of our audience. Please share in the comments where you are following these developments from. What lies ahead? Share your predictions with us.